International Speaker Series. I want to thank you for coming today. I hope you are doing well. Before we begin the session, let me introduce myself. My name is Elika. I'm working as Project Manager at Recap. It is my pleasure to welcome you today as the host in this webinar session talking about finding the silver lining during pandemic. I'm very excited because after this, we're going to introduce our inspiring speaker and moderator. In this moment, I would like to say thank you to our partners, 1000 Startup Digital and ICT Ministry of Indonesia as our strategic partners, Kumpul as our community partner, Zillion as our media partner, and also Selaksa as our event partner. This project will not be able to run without our partners' support. We are very delighted to have you here in Insight Speaker Series, which will be held bi-weekly with several topics around business, finance, marketing, and technology. As our current situation affected by COVID-19, many businesses and startups have been adjusting and maintaining their business, both in short and long-term action to survive this situation. That is the reason this webinar series is made, to help the government to support startups and business to survive and thrive in COVID-19 situation. The knowledge and experience will be delivered by international speakers and moderators from top-notch companies to share their perspective in business. Today, in this session, we will learn about opportunities seized and strategy implementation in guiding businesses through COVID-19. Before we start, I'm going to explain the agenda for today's session. So after participant check-in, we have an opening and introduction as what we already have now. After that, we're going to have a presentation from Wayne Chan, our speaker. He is the monitoring executive at Gobi Partners. And then we're going to have Q&A session, which will be facilitated by our moderator, Larissa Pramudita Sidarto. We also have lucky draws for the first 3 persons who ask questions during this webinar. The winners will be getting free access to our Insight Telegram Masterclass, talking about product management and customer needs with Meredith Pang, product management at Gojek. If you have any question regarding our topic during the presentation, you don't have to wait until the end of the presentation. You can just write it on Q&A chat box in Zoom, and then we will go through it later on Q&A session. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's session. She is currently pursuing a graduate degree at the University of Oxford and serves as the commissioner of Burgreens, a sustainable fast food chain that empowers farmers and promotes healthy lifestyle. Prior, she led Data Booth and Hara Strategy and Operational Priority Program as the COO, from implementing new businesses to streamlining processes. She is also a recipient of Forbes 30 Under 30. She is Larissa Pramudita Sidarto. Thank you for sparing your time to be able to facilitate our discussion today.
Hi, Alika. Thank you very much for the introduction. And hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. My name is Larissa. A bit about myself. I'm currently the commissioner of Burgreens, a sustainable plant-based food chain that promotes a healthy lifestyle. Our mission is to make healthy, sustainable food to be delicious and accessible for everyone, while empowering local farmers and women to a responsible food supply chain. What started as Jakarta's first organic, healthy, plant-based eatery has now grown into a social business connecting local farmers, a passionate team, and a conscious customers. You can check us out at www.burgreens.com. Currently, I'm in England right now pursuing my MBA at the University of Oxford. So a bit about today's topic, right? Building the next normal, high growth companies during and post COVID-19. This cannot be more relevant. The current global pandemic of COVID-19 has impacted the world. Many businesses are going through a crisis of uncertainty. Initial strategic plans, ways of doing, customer behaviors have changed, and it's more important now than ever for such businesses to be nimble, agile, and adapt accordingly to their respective markets. Even if it sometimes means it requires pivoting. So that brings me to introduce you to our speaker today, Wayne Chan. Wayne Chan is the monitoring executive at Gobi Partners, one of the longest-standing venture capital firms with a pan-Asian presence. He handles portfolio management for the Southeast Asian Fund. I will pass the stage to Wayne, who will be sharing on his thoughts on how firms should find the silver lining during such pandemic, maintain and even thrive during this challenging time.
Hi, thank you, Larissa, and thank you, Elika, as well. Yeah, thank you for having me here and for the organizer to hosting these sessions. My name is Wayne, and I'm based in KL, Kuala Lumpur. Oh, hold on, let me share the screen. Yeah, I'm based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and I've joined Gobi Partners for around 3 years in the portfolio management team. So let me first introduce you a bit background of Gobi Partners. Gobi Partners is one of the longest standing venture capital firms with a pan-Asian presence across South Asia, North Asia, and ASEAN, with asset under management amounted to 1.1 billion US dollar. So headquartered in Shanghai and Kuala Lumpur, we have supported entrepreneurs from the early stage to the growth stage and focuses on emerging and underserved markets. So founded back in 2002, Gobi have raised 13 funds to date and invested in over 360 startups and have grown into 12 offices across the regions. So feel free to find out more from our Gobi website, gobi.vc, and I will link in as well for more updates. Yeah, I would like to also take this opportunity to shout out to a few of our notable investee companies like Aerodyne, a drone-based enterprise solution provider, Carson, one of the largest online used car trading platform in Southeast Asia, and Delivery, also known as Transportify, a logistic marketplace that allow customer in the first and mid-mile delivery to place bookings, and Travelio as well, an online short-term home rental service provider. Okay. Moving to the next slide. So when COVID hits, how did Gobi respond? So as you can see from this image, those are the potential winners and potential losers during the pandemic. So with Gobi regional presence, we can see that already from our China portfolio back in January, February this year. Therefore, our team has the first-hand knowledge of the COVID-19 impact in each of these particular industries. So, for example, we know that the travel industry will definitely impacted heavily, and we've advised our travel company to actually cut down their costs in terms of marketing and to freeze hiring as well until the market recovers. So as for fintech, we can see the trend that the default risk is rising in China. So we quickly advise our fintech companies in ASEAN to be more strict in their disbursement policy, right? So this is actually to prevent the spike of the risk of defaults. And the strategy is only to deploy to those customers who have a very good credit rating in the past. So during the pandemic, Gobi response focused on two parts. What to do if you're potential losers, and also what to do if you are potential winners. So to those startups who are operating under the potential impact industry, we have acknowledged them the importance of their cash runway and also scenario planning analysis guidance to the founders, to look into how they can cut their OPEX or operating expenses in terms of how to trim down your marketing or CAPEX without fundamentally hurting your business. So as for startup who operating in the industry that thriving amidst the pandemic, this would be an opportunity for them or a best time for them to build their profile and possible fundraising if they are doing better, right? Yeah, so Gobi has also helped in terms of leveraging our networks by providing access to the new market. So we have connected some of our companies to the players to the new regions. So after all, I'm glad to announce that I'm glad to say that 80% of our portfolio in ASEAN have run more than 6 months. And I'm quite amazed at the strengths and the resilience of our portfolio founders. So they did what is necessary to pivot and maintain their business during this challenging time. So moving into the topic, I would like to share some of my bit experience in managing the portfolio management during this period. So from what I see, from what I could learn, and as well as what are the future initiatives that could be considered. So the first point, how do you react to the pandemic? Or what I would rather say, what action would you actually take? Give me a sec. Yeah, what action would you take during this time? So COVID-19 have changed the digital landscape and the trend as a whole. Founders should consider reviewing their business model again, like whether or not your current business model still fit for the current market's needs, and outsourcing function. Do you want to do it internally, or should you still continue using the outsourcing service? I think this is more on the CAPEX management, and also to review your customer behavior to see that if this is the next trend of behavior, and also how's their spending is gonna look like in the future, right? And from there, you can initiate a kind of good engagement with your customers. So is this crisis a threat or an opportunity to your business? And how do you turn the level of threat into a minimal positions? Yeah, I would start with, take proactive actions. Don't just wait there and, you hope for the crisis to be over, and take some, impact actions on it. So as we can see that today's business, like, groceries and restaurant as well, they're pivoting into moving into the delivery services, and the school, the college, and the universities have even pivoted into online learning and digital classroom. And even doctors are doing some online consultations and diagnostics as well. So one example that I can give from our portfolio company is Supply Bunny, a company in Malaysia. It's a B2B platform focusing on helping F&B merchants to find supplier. So they have even launched online streaming sales in Facebook, and they have, in order to capture more audience and target market. So, tap into the B2C market as well, right? And second company will be Aerodyne, the drones service provider. They have launched product solutions, to help the Royal Police in Malaysia to use drone as and do the monitoring and the public surveillance in the MCO period, the movement control orders periods. Yeah, I think the key takeaway here is to identify the gaps and opportunities that are complementary to your existing resources. Yeah, you can leverage on your current customer base and platforms, and to upsell and cross-sell your products and services. And I think this is also an opportunity time for you to expand your target markets and to find right partners or even talents. Right? I think moving forward, you can consider to focus more on the customer engagements and building your brand awareness by improving the search engine optimizations or giving a better or more simplified user experience. Okay, moving to the second point, how to manage your stakeholders. I personally think that leadership is the key to drive this. The founders should acknowledge the stakeholder concerns and encourage to solve it. And looking into the customer, yeah, you probably need to maintain and strengthening the relationship. You need to understand what their raising concerns are. For B2B business, are they facing difficulties to paying you back? And you can probably sit down to discuss for the solution. And maybe what you can offer is extend the payment terms, right? And as for B2C company, delivering a safe and good and services to them is a must, so that you keeping their trust and confidence. So as for employees, you should always communicate with them and understand their problems and suggesting the solutions to them. Probably you can show, the act of care towards your employees in this period, by ensuring the safety and also limiting the offline meetings and some other key measures. Yeah. In terms of supplier, you should also check about what's their raising concern. As you know, they are part of the supply chain where they provide supplies to you. While for shareholders, I think it's very important to be transparent with them, because telling them your real situations and what you can do about it and your ability to execute in order to keep their confidence. As for governments, please follow the rules and regulations, right? Yeah, and possibly you can offer some value added service to them as well, right? Okay, moving to the next point. Yeah, Runway is the key of the business, and also always take the financing when you can. The objective of this is to prevent the company to run out of cash unexpectedly, and also to maintain or prolong the healthy cash runway. Business survival is the key. So therefore, some remedial actions could be taken, such as cost-saving strategies to be implemented. This might be a good time for you to evaluate whether or not you can do more with less and raise productivity. And despite sufficient cash, we can even see that some of our founders are willing to sacrifice their salary to prolong the company's runway. It's like a short-term losses for them to have a long-term gain, given that the current uncertainty of economics and fundraising. So it's crucial to calculate how much capital needed to keep a company afloat in order to reach the key milestones. Yeah, you can review your capex and your marketing expenditure, as these are typically the major business expenditure. I think, depending on workforce, a salary cut may be implemented, alongside with lesser working days. Yeah, could be a strategy to save costs. Yeah, like mentions, the survivor is the key, right? So in reality, fundraising may take up to 1 year or even longer. Yeah, and founders are encouraged to always be in fundraising mode, because while your business is still doing good. But definitely you need to have a proper plan, and then how to spend for the investments, right? I think the key message here would be, just even if your round is already oversubscribed, I think you might as well just take the investment, because eventually the money will possibly go to your competitors. You never know. And then second point here is that it's easier for you to raise when your business is still doing good, and also you need to prevent some unforeseen event that may impact in the future. Yeah, as we know, having a great market outlook and technology right now may not look so attractive, especially during the economic downturn. Yeah. Also, there will be a new normal where startups and investors will adjust a new situation in which the due diligence is now switching from offline to online. So it may take longer than the expected, given to the current market sentiment. So here's a few of the considerations point. Yeah. You can opening a convertible round to the existing investor, maybe for a 20 to 30% discount for the next round financing. And secondly, you can consider the financing option out there by the privates or the governments, such as venture debt financing or the government grants for the COVID-19. Third point, make sure that you can deliver and execute your plan well by achieving your forecast, and that helps in capturing the investor confidence. Because lastly, you always networking and maintaining the relationship with the other startup or even investors, because you never know that they might connect to someone you are interested to reaching out. Okay. The next slide. Okay. Adaptability will determine the winners. So the main message here is to bring out the importance of financial forecasts, budgeting, and scenario analysis. Although the future cannot be predicted accurately, therefore I think planning is the very important approach to be implemented. So forecasting, budgeting, and scenario planning can help to assess various possibilities that the founders and the startup may face. As these circumstances may change rapidly, employing a prudent approach will make the decision clearer. So we see investing is about believing in the future. Therefore, it's necessary to prepare the forecast for each of the company or the situations. Yeah, you should apply stakeholder concern as a part of your planning process. Yeah, so that you know that in each of the situation, how do you deal with your stakeholder? Like when you are in your worst case, you probably know that, okay, this is the time for you to freeze hiring or even reach out investor for help, and do some client risk management strategy as well, because this would help in where you're standing at. And definitely you will need to have a kind of a recovery plan. So you need to forecast that, okay, what is the recovery plan, the strategy that could be taken. Okay, going to the next one. What can be practiced? I would recommend ESG policy. Stand for environmental, social, and corporate governance. So here are some definitions that under each of the categories. So in environmental, you should look into the environmental impact for example, like productions and manufacturing should look into their material resource sourcing, waste management, as well as energy efficiency. So even recently, we can see that Apple has pledged to achieve net zero carbon emission across their supply chain by 2030, right? And then in social, it can be handling your customer data protection well, the concern of the safety and health of your employees and even your customers. Yeah. As for governance, anti-corruption and as well as some risk management strategies. So I think startups are encouraged to start looking into implementing the ESG policy, no matter if you are the early stage or late stage. I think it's quite worth for you to look into this one, because try to develop your products by providing a friendly environmental solutions, as this will create a long-term impact down the road. Yeah, I think some people may argue that, my business is still too early, even the business model is not matured yet. Why should I look into the ESG policy? But yeah, I think you can just look at the value of this ESG policy to implement in your business strategy. Yeah. So there's a few I would say benefits for you to actually maintaining this ESG. So the one would be you can attract top talents in hiring. Yeah, probably your company will have a low turnover rate because it shows that you very care about your employees, right? And then secondly, it would be trust is built and great branding and reputations, so that your customers or clients are feeling safe with your products. And yeah, third point would be attracting investors, right? So I believe that this point is going to be one of the investment thesis in the investor looking in the futures. Yeah. And fourth one, stand out from your competitors. studies have shows that, companies that tends to implement ESG tends to performing better than their peers. So I think this is also supported by, I saw this back in 2015. I think Oxford University have researched about the relationship between the ESG performance and also the financial performance. Yeah, for more than 200 academic papers they found, and there's a 80% of positive correlations between these ESG positions and their financial performance. So in terms of what have Gobi done in this ESG policy, so I think, we have come up with a checklist and even an annual reporting mechanism for both ourselves and our portfolio companies. And then secondly, back in 2018, we have pledged that we're investing 50 million into women entrepreneurs. And as today, we are about to achieve 90% of it. Yeah. And glad to mention that 33% of our active portfolios in ASEAN comes from the woman founder background. Yes. Okay, I think my presentation stop here. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Wayne, for that comprehensive overview of key learnings and what to do. There are actually already quite a few questions coming in.
Let me see.
Let me pick a little bit. Question for you. So from the lens of an investor, right? What have you learned from this pandemic experience, and how does it affect when assessing new companies to invest?
I think what I've learned in this experience, I think definitely one is digitalization is very important. You need to go online right now because everything is it's not on offline anymore. And then secondly, it will be, what kind of services you are providing, like whether or not it's an essential service, so that, is important in the current situations. I think the third point would be, I think companies should always have, a future plan in terms of, looking into how far can your business go, because runway is very important for the startup companies. I think in terms of how does these have been affecting our investment thesis. I think I mentioned earlier that ESG policy may be one of the space that investors started looking at, because there's a value behind of it in terms of, taking care of the environment, human rights, or even maintaining a good company management. And also, I think that, because right now, most of things is going online, definitely like the due diligence process is gotta be longer if people is looking through online, right? Because, a lot of assessments needed to be done. So I think you need to kind of giving yourself a longer period for you to, to fundraise during this time. Yes.
Thank you. There's a question that comes in. So does the COVID-19 pandemic affect Gobi's investment behavior or appetite? Would you say Gobi partners are more risk averse or not?
No, I would say it's not just it may affect, but I think it's affecting all the VCs, right? Because we are investing very carefully, but we're still looking very aggressively in terms of investing, because in Malaysia we have launched a new fund. We call it Super Seed 2, and the fund is targeting over 20 companies with a ticket size of around $250,000 US. So we just held it I think past 2 months ago, right? And then, yeah, I think we would like to say that although risk averse, but we're still looking for the best company out there. Yeah.
Cool. Now this might be a sensitive topic to ask, but I think one that needs to be talked about, right? You mentioned earlier on about evaluating on possibilities of doing more with less. And by this, usually it means less on salary spending, less team members to survive, because basically to survive the pandemic that's going a little bit longer than what initially was anticipated. So how do you think one should go about it? Paying lower salary, having less people, without lowering the morale of the team, because low morale usually means also lower productivity.
I think yeah, this is actually very subjective. So it actually depend on how badly is your industry being impacted. So I think I think in order for a company to survive longer, 20% cut of salary, I think is still at a good level. So that goes in one point that you need to communicate well with your employees or the management to understand the situations, to let them know, it's time for us to share the pain. This is just a temporary solutions that, after the market recovery, we can have different kind of KPI coming in, in terms of, I would say this is like a short-term period. So I think 20 to 30% cut, I think as long as the communication goes well, I believe there is a balance. You can also ask about the employees' concern, whether or not they're okay with it or what do they think. I think, it's all about negotiations, right?
I totally agree with that. At the end of the day, it goes back to leadership and just being open, because at the end of the day, everyone knows that the global pandemic is happening. So I think you're right. Open communication also creates more acceptance when such things happen. So there's a question. So what are you said a lot of things about things to look out for, but there's a question here about what are the interventions currently offered by Gobi to their investees, companies during this pandemic?
What are the interventions offered by Gobi to the investee companies? Interventions offered. Yeah, I think, so I think Gobi saw this, how this pandemic is going to affect our portfolio. So at first we have looked to our fund, and then we run a sensitive analysis towards our funds and how our portfolio, what is their position, whether or not they are in a lower runway or is a higher runway position. So to those companies that in the lower runway, we take immediate action. As we reach out to the company, we talk to them, we mention to them that, hey, this is a serious period. So you need to have to sit down with our management and plan well of your company's runway position until the markets recover. And then what we do is we even try to introduce them more clients from our next networks. And then secondly is that we have also shared them with our knowledge gaining from the China, and then what do we see, what can be implemented. I think it's quite helpful from our team to share the knowledge from the other markets.
For sure. And after discussing, like sharing knowledge and discussing with the investees on this, can you share a bit more about the creative ways of how your investees, your portfolio companies handled the pandemic, and like what creative way they did to change their ways of working or their business?
I think in terms of how they have changed the way their business, I think one is definitely because during this period, everyone is talking about the SOP, about the safety. So I think what they do is they have tried, minimize some offline meetings going online. And then secondly is that they're looking to, the safety and health is put into the number one priority from the company's perspective. Yeah. And then also I think that, what is that? Yeah, I think also for them to, they're seen, they value their business model, whether or not they're seeing, is there a change in the trend? Or, I mean, is the trend is changing, whether or not there's a change that need to be implemented on their business model. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. You mentioned a bit earlier about like your portfolios, what they did, right? Like how even like a travel company shifted and quickly adapted to the situation, and worked on marketplace delivery. Was that what you mentioned? Or if you can share more about like what examples of how they changed their business models or their offerings to customers to adapt to the current situation.
Okay. Yeah, I think in terms of travel company, right? Probably the space they can, because you know that the what do you say that the because traveling is right now is there's no more commercial travel, right? So definitely what the space that they can look in is more on, what do I say? How do I find the word? The essential traveling. Yeah, like for example, is it the travel for the, for the medical or something like that, to also, push in where the customer, the value that the customer wants, like what's the reason for them to travel in this period? Probably, it's all about the medical travel, right? And then secondly, I would say, yeah, some of our companies, they're even looking into, they are B2B focused, but what they did is they know that, okay, B2B, my clients may be at risk, at paying me back or something. Maybe I should tap into the B2C markets, right? So switching into the B2C market allow them to, actually, test the response from the audience. So I think this is a great period for them to, to test the market, whether should they, reach out to the B2C markets for the better profit margins, right? Yeah.
Cool. Even to test out the market, right? It's with a lot of changes, a lot of like changing your business model and changing even your customer model. Is it how would want to go about it, leading a company and trying to navigate the team to make sure they're not panicked, they're not.
Yes, I understand
about it.
So I would say at first you need to actually probably understanding your current business resources and also understanding what's the new trend and also the behavior. Not to say like a full force pivoting into the new business model, but I think it's more on the adaptability of your business providing added value services or solutions to the markets. So I think what they can do is also, learn from the others, learn from the competitors, or even learn from the other countries, like what you see in China and what you see in your competitor, what kind of strategy they're implementing. Should you go into that space or what is the concern? Yeah, I think these are the few factors that you should probably consider before pivoting the business.
Creating more environmentally friendly products.
Sorry, I missed you for a few seconds. I think, yeah.
Okay.
Could you make a pardon?
For sure. You said earlier on like testing products. Now's the time to test new products, right? And you also said that, but you also said that maybe the future is to create products that are more environmentally friendly. That's the ESG pillars.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if the goal right now is to survive first, wouldn't such actions be more of a financial burden? Is now the right time to be thinking of creating a longer term solution, or is it to survive first, or can you maybe do both?
Yeah, I think these may sound challenging, but I think definitely we can look into the space in the balance in terms of to be survive and also to go green, because I think I just want to bring out the message that expert has been warning us about the potential pandemics, but we ain't listening seriously for the past few years. So you can see that so many pollution, trash in the sea, and then extinction of the ambiguous species, climate change. So just want to say that if you are living in a world of trash, would you be happy, right? So I think COVID-19 has bring a strong impact in the world, wiping out so many life forces. And I think this is a wake-up call. And you need to realize that nothing is permanent. So how can we preserve our plan to survive? Like, would you rather to live in a world that still have a convenience store on, or there's no at all, right? So I think, yeah, that's the balance. And I think it doesn't to be that way that, you have to be investing a lot into the investing a lot to go green, because I think as long as you have, let me give an example, like, maybe like the eco-friendly bag, something like this, right? So it can be recycled. So instead of using plastic, is hurting the environment as well. So you can go to maybe using some recycled stuff, right? Producing some recycled products. And yeah, I think this is not just the impact is not just on you, but instead this impact is on everyone's, and it transcends generation. Yeah. So we want to preserve our words to the future generation as well. Yeah. So I think this is a long-term impact. So the value behind of it is very important. Yeah.
For sure, that's a very interesting point you raised about that. Signs have been there. There are problems right now, and the pandemic is just a wake-up call to accelerate even further the importance of creating more sustainable movements or products. Cool. So, okay. So during this pandemic, Wayne, you said like many businesses pivoted their businesses to survive and thrive. What factors do you think are important to consider before even deciding to pivot?
Oh, you mean before even pivot, what factors to survive, right? I think, yeah, I think this would still mainly ties back to the cost saving, I would say, because, and also the runway, and also, how do you see yourself in the future? This go back to the, the forecast. How do you see yourself in the coming down few years? Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, this is more on understanding your business resources, right?
Yeah, and basically being honest with yourself, right? Whether you're like what you said, potential losers or winners, and just major review on everything you have right now and trying to go back to basics. Cool. There is a question here on what do you think are currently the ratio of losers, potential losers and winners in the portfolio?
I think we would say it's around 70 to 80% because when what we did back to in March and April, when we run the sensitivity analysis test, yeah, that's why we can find that almost 80% of our portfolios in ASEAN is ready over this period. Yeah, so I could say around 60 to 70% of them are is well prepared in these situations.
That's wonderful. And considering the fact that it's affecting a lot of businesses. So I think it also relates to the fact of your earlier due diligence on, like investing on the founders and all, who are able to navigate through this difficult situation. For the audience, are there any more questions for Wayne here about his thoughts on how to thrive during such situations?
Yeah, I think if there's any more questions, feel free to reach. Oh, yeah, there is.
Thank you, Yin. So Yin asks, has ESG been implemented? ESG has been implemented since years ago, but has this recently been a more preferred approach in the pandemic?
No, I think yeah. Actually, back to a few years ago, there's a trend. People start looking in the ESG policies, but I think during this 2020, the trend is way more higher than previously. So in terms for Gobi itself, so I've joined Gobi back in 2018, right? So even when I come in, the company has told us about, we already have a kind of ESG policy to sign, so that we need to know that, okay, what are the things that we shouldn't do or we should do, right? So I think for us, we have already implement back to a few years ago, right?
Okay. Are there any more questions to the audience? All right, well, I guess now would be a time to wrap it up then. Thank you, Wayne, for like the comprehensive overview on basically ways to change all these threats into opportunities during the pandemic. Several key learnings that you pointed out today is like proactive action is very important. One needs to be honest on what to do when you are a potential losers or winner, and the actions to do afterwards. Do a major review on business model, customer behavior, financials, figure out financial runway, be honest with it again, be very conservative, take financing when you can. You mentioned that leadership is key, so it's important to manage and engage all your stakeholders throughout this difficult time, whether it be your company and your employees, your customers and your investors. Review a lot and learn from mistakes. So thank you for all these these gems of insights, and thank you, Elika and the Recap team and its partners for organizing such relevant discussions, especially during such trying times. Do you have any closing thoughts, Wayne?
I would like to wish everyone to stay healthy and to stay safe over this period. Yeah, I think please feel free to reach me out via LinkedIn if you have any more questions that you would like to know. Thank you. Yeah.
Agree. I hope this discussion was fruitful for everyone. Stay safe and healthy, and hope you all have a lovely weekend ahead.
Thank you, Wayne and Larissa, for the lecture as well as the interesting discussion regarding strategies and initiatives that work during pandemic. Hopefully, it can be beneficial for everyone here. Unfortunately, we have limited time and the time is up for today. But if you have questions that has not been answered and you want to connect with Wayne and Larissa, you can connect with them through LinkedIn. Now, I want to announce the winner of today's lucky draws. Congratulations for Madihah and Yin. We will send you an email to our masterclass event. And for everyone who wants to know more about our next webinar and community, you can find it on our social media that is already written in the chat box. We will be more than excited if you want to join our next webinar, and for the details, we will update it on our social media. So stay tuned. Also, we will be more than grateful if you can fill out the polling at the end of our session so we can improve the quality of our next webinar. Furthermore, we also have an online group discussion in Telegram named Insight Community. In Insight Community, we will have weekly discussion with experts through group chat in Telegram, covering several topics around business, finance, technology, and marketing. We are open to anyone who is interested in entrepreneurship and wants to learn about managing business from the experts. For anyone who is interested to join Insight Community, we have sent the invitation link in the chat box. We are going to discuss about how to create a core team in business organization next Tuesday. We hope to see you there. Thank you again for everyone that has joined and stay until the end of the session. I would like to thank again our speaker, Wayne, and our moderator, Larissa. Also our partners, 1000 Startup Digital, ICT Ministry of Indonesia, Kumpul, Zillion, and Nasol Salaksa. We cannot miss this webinar happen without your support. Okay, I think we arrived at the end of our session. Thank you very much, Wayne and Larissa, for today's discussion. Hopefully, we can meet again in the future. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope we will see you again in our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.